Hello everyone, I'm Christine Collister, a friend and colleague of Angela Hryniuk for the past 30 years. I'm delighted to introduce Angela today on this webinar that you're about to watch on enlightenment and money, the 3 critical pillars to achieve spiritual and financial abundance without compromise. I've watched Angela change and grow in both the spiritual and material worlds over these decades, and I can say, hand on heart, that she practices exactly what she preaches. So sit back and soak up all the wisdom and knowledge Angela has to offer.
Hello, welcome to this webinar on enlightenment and money and how to achieve spiritual and financial abundance without compromise. You've made it. You've arrived. Here you are on this webinar. Congratulations. Many people have great intentions. The world is filled with intentions. However, those people who take the action actually show up are the ones that are benefiting and moving forward. So you are one of the brave and courageous ones. Hooray. I'm imagining you're coming today from a place of perhaps loneliness, perhaps you're an amazing worker at work and you have all these colleagues around you, but you're feeling a hollowness inside. Perhaps you're a person who just gives and gives and gives, and finally something twigged in you, I've got to give to myself. You may have been giving to your children, to your spouse, to your parents, and you've been left depleted. Perhaps you've not been able to say no, and now you need to learn how that works. Perhaps you've been giving away your power, and now it's time to become empowered. All of these behaviors I completely know inside out. I have been there. Maybe you have a reliance on cake or shopping or a glass of wine at the end of the workday, right? To stress relieve. Maybe you wanted to learn a few tricks and tips, some tools. You're in the right place. You really, really are. I'm coming to you today from 3 main streams of my own personal life. The first one is a background in Buddhism. I have 25 years as a practicing Buddhist, the last 15 of which I have been a Buddhist teacher. I can marry people, I can bury them, I can name their children and do blessings. So that's a background that's long and solid. Another part of where I'm coming from today, another stream of information that you're receiving, is an accounting background. So for the last 17 years, I've had an accounting practice where I've helped people with their taxation, doing their taxes, and also going to bat for them to the various taxation departments in Australia, Canada, the US, fighting the good fight and teaching them how to use spiritual principles to move through times of crisis around taxation, but also in their businesses and how to grow their businesses from a spiritual point of view, empowerment inwardly that ripples outwardly. And the third stream I'm going to be talking to you today from is from a recovery background. I have 18 years of sobriety recovering from alcoholism. And that's a stream that I have been working with through a 12-step program. I have sat thousands of hours in meetings, I've done inventories, I've talked to people, and basically all of that now is embodied in me as a structure, and I'm bringing that all to you today. These 3 streams. And I have created this program, this webinar, talking about these 3 critical pillars, as well as 7 steps to move you towards your financial and spiritual abundance. What I can say after this webinar and moving forward in life is that your beingness, what you do in life and what you have, will have so much more meaning and purpose. I came from a place that was very dark, very despairing. I didn't have any purpose. And today, I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams. living in 2 countries, traveling the world, carrying my message. So from where I came to where I am and where I'm hoping to go, you can have the same path. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my story. I grew up in Canada, in the prairies. My lineage is Ukrainian. My grandparents came from Ukraine early on in the early part of the last century. They were immigrants with no educational background, so they really stressed education with my parents. So my parents were highly educated at a cost, and the cost was their relationship to their children. At the age of 11, my parents split. I chose to go live with my mother. My brother went to live with my father, so the 4 of us were completely separated. And at that time, my mother wasn't very well in her mind, and I had already learned the belief system that if somebody needed me, they must love me. If I needed to take care of them, then they needed me, and if they needed me, then I was loved. So I went to live with my mother. Early on, age 13, 14, that's when I found alcohol. I had already begun to need a stress relief early on in my youth, very early on. Life was highly stressful. And I was, right from the get-go, a blackout drinker. I wasn't sort of a social drinker. I was drinking to get drunk in order to relieve this pain and suffering inside. When I was 14, that's when the suicidal ideation began. And I was suicidal for many years. I couldn't figure out why I was brought to this planet. I felt like I was a different species. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know what to do with my life. At the age of 16, I finally left home. There had been sufficient pain and suffering, despair. My life had been filled with violence, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect. And at age of 16, I was like, I'm out of here. Fast forward into my 20s, I had met a man, and he was a musician, and he was a very well-known musician in Canada. And we were working together. I had my life as a writer. I was pursuing my writing career. He was pursuing his music. We were already earning 6 digits in our 20s. And at that time, I met an accountant, the accountant that we were working with. And he said to me something interesting. He said, Angela, you have this interesting mind where you can give me profit and loss sheets and balance sheets, but at the same time you can write poetry. And he said, if you ever need a job, Angela, you've got one here. And I'm like, Gary, I'm a poet. I'm not going to come work for you. Fast forward another few years, this man that I had been living with, this musician, he and I split up. And what I knew to do at that time was I put a bottle of scotch and a package of cigarettes in front of me. And that was what was going to get me through the pain and the suffering. That's all I knew. I proceeded to drink and smoke and isolate. I didn't know I was supposed to reach out to friends and talk to them. The shame was so great inside of me. I didn't know I was supposed to reach out to family. I didn't know that I should be out in nature and talking with people, especially at a time of pain. Instead, I went inwardly and I isolated. Fast forward just about 18 months after that, maybe a few years, I started to bottom out from my alcoholism. I was drinking very heavily. I'd moved away from my community. I moved onto this little island. I was living up a mountain on the dark side. I was very isolated. I didn't see people for days. And I proceeded basically to drink myself to death. That's where I hit my bottom. And I was on my knees and I was like, I'm done. I don't know what I was praying to or what I was talking to even, but I knew that it was over for me. I had done the best I could, and whatever was going to come after that, it had to be better. I sobered up. I started doing recovery work. I was also at that time working in the community as a Buddhist at my Buddhist center and working out into the community, fundraising, and slowly my name was getting known in the community. Now I should say that from a very early age, my belief systems have always been that I will be provided for. and so will you. I always knew that, as my grandmother once said, who was my greatest spiritual teacher, if the divine will feed a little bird, why should you not get fed? So I never knew where the money was coming from or where the food was going to come from, but I knew I would be provided for. I had this connection to the divine. I had a hard time connecting to human beings. Most of prosperity comes through other human beings and our relationships, and I was severely broken in that place. So as I was recovering, I was going to therapy. At one point, I was seeing a therapist twice a week. I did therapy for 7 years solid. And as I said, I was out in the community getting known to be good as a fundraiser. I helped a nun fundraise $21,000 very quickly so that she could go back to India and begin a nunnery. I did a literary event for the Claycoat Sound, which was an environmental disaster actually in Canada at the time. So we did a beautiful literary event and we fundraised $23,000 in an afternoon. And then one day I got a call out of the blue. And this is how I work, and this is how I suggest you work. And that is, you ask the universe to show you where to next serve. Write this down, write this statement down. Where would you like me to serve next? So there I was, I threw my hands up and I said, where would you like me to serve next? And I got a call. It was from a man in Vancouver, and he asked me, would I like to host His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who was coming to Vancouver the following year? How long do you think that took me to answer that question? It was like a nanosecond. It was a beautiful year. It was challenging and it was trying, but oh my goodness, I coordinated an event for 23,000 people. It was a morning event, a spiritual teaching, and an afternoon event, a public teaching. And that public teaching also involved Bishop Desmond Tutu. This group of luminaries that came to Vancouver at that time were His Holiness, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Hryniuk. All three of those are Nobel laureates. Hryniuk had just won the Nobel Peace Prize. Then there was Rabbi Shachter Shalomi, as well as a First Nations elder. They had a roundtable discussion on how to educate the heart. So I was able to hang out with these folks for 5 days, serving at the highest capacity, learning from them. It was an incredible experience. The next year, again, out of the blue, I got an invitation to go to India. And I was at this point working in an interspiritual capacity at the Interspiritual Center of Vancouver. And I was invited to have dinner with the President of India at that time, Abdul Kalam. Again, a highlight of my life. He ushered us in, we sat down, and the first question he said, "Let's meditate." And we were like, what? He could feel us, our hesitation. He's like, what? I'm a meditator, you're a meditator. Let's begin to meditate. This is the president of the biggest democracy in the world. So we meditated for 30 minutes in silence. Then afterwards we had our dinner and we did all the photographs and everything like that. The following year after that, 2006, the United Nations came to Vancouver. And they were doing a large World Urban Forum on sustainability. I looked at the agenda and I said, where is spirituality in this agenda? And I approached the head of the United Nations at the time and I asked him that question. He said, you're right, there is no spirituality on this. He said, you write me something up and we'll give you some money. So I wrote something up with the help of some colleagues and we received $21,000 and we brought people from all over the world to talk about sustainability and spirituality. Now, why am I telling you these stories? I'm telling you this because I was a child growing up on the prairies, the Siberian winters, in desperation and despair, and I have moved and worked with my belief systems internally. When I was growing up, money was bad. My father was a power monger around it. He was controlling, he was manipulative around money. And I thought, anybody with money, that's what they look like. I don't want it. Money is bad, spirit is good. Until I reached to a point where I was like, wait a minute here. I want some more money and I don't think I'm a bad person. So I had to start uncovering my belief systems. And I'm sure you're coming today to this webinar already having established some of your belief systems. You know what you're thinking. You know what runs your show. And you want more. And that's where I was at that point in time. I wanted more, but I knew all of the conscious belief systems. What we have to do, and what I had to do at that time, was I had to learn how to go into my unconscious. Because it's our unconscious that's broadcasting all the time out into the world. These belief systems that are unconscious are the energies that the world picks up. How do we get there? Well, I'm going to show you on this video how to get to your unconscious and come in and speak to it. These belief systems that we're running consciously, science knows about 5% of the brain. So 95% science is still not aware of. Spirit communities and spiritual teachers, they have more information, and I believe more and more is getting revealed every day to the planet. So 2006, I'm working with the United Nations. Then I moved to Australia, 2007, through a series of beautiful events. 2007 shows up. I'm starting to meet people. All of our abundance comes based on the frequency we're holding in our body. We are energetic beings. So as our frequency emanates outwardly, we will attract in people of our same frequency. So at that point in time, I come to Australia and I start meeting people of my own frequency. I start meeting people who are athletes. They're elite athletes. So I met a woman named Sarah Maxwell, who was Canadian living here in Australia, and her partner Natalie Cook, who I found out subsequently a 5-time Olympian, gold medalist in the Sydney Olympics, and also a bronze medalist. And then they introduced me to a woman named Deborah Hutton, who was working on a project called Balance in Women's Lives. Deborah then introduced me to Ida Buttrose. Olivia Newton-John was involved with the project. So I was starting to move out in a global way. Then in 2008, I get introduced on a global scale to Michael Gerber, the author of the E-Myth Revisited, as well as Chip Wilson, the originator of Lululemon. So I was then sharing the stage with people who have had massive impact on the world, both spiritually and financially. I'm here, this whole webinar is here to talk to you about how do we move deeply inwardly, clear out the wreckage of our past so that we can emanate out fully and attract in who we are and attract in new opportunities, health, prosperity, friendships, materiality, money, and move further and further towards whatever it is our goals and dreams are. Lastly, in 2015, I've had the great good pleasure of being invited to have a private retreat with His Holiness the Dalai Lama here in Sydney. And it was, again, one of the highlights of my life. Never once did I put my hand up and say, pick me, pick me. Always it has come from an internal mandate. As below, so above. We don't need to throw out our energy and run after all these hopes and dreams. We just have to deeply work inwardly. And I'm here to tell you about the 3 critical pillars upon which all of this stands. And as I said, your life is going to be beyond your wildest dreams as we follow these 3 critical pillars and then moving forward into the 7 steps. I want you to watch right to the end of this webinar because I have a special gift for you waiting. So let's begin. So now we're going to talk about the 3 pillars on the road to enlightenment and money, how to achieve balance, financial and spiritual balance without compromise. Let's first begin with the definition of abundance, all right? So for me, I talk about abundance and prosperity as opposed to just money. And for me, there are 5 component parts of abundance. The first is health, our personal health, radiant health, not just, oh yeah, I feel good, but radiant health all the time, so people are feeling that joyousness that's coming out of us. That's number 1 for the definition of abundance. Second one, time. Do I have time to do what I want when I want? Not always being at somebody else's beck and call, at my boss's call, at my partner's call, at my children's call. Time for me. That's a part of abundance. Then we've got relationships. Relationship to self, but relationships with others and friendships. All right? The richness of our life. Most of our prosperity will come through people. And the more people we know, the more abundant we become. So relationships are a cornerstone of this whole notion of abundance. Then we've got peace of mind. Peace of mind is that quietude that we find inside. Coming from meditation, coming from deep awareness, coming from wisdom that we've cultivated. That's when the committees inside the head have quietened down. When the chipmunks have gone to sleep and they're not on that turnstile, going and going and going, where we can't fall asleep at night, it's just blah, blah, blah. Peace of mind is part of abundance. And lastly, it is about material wealth and money, all right? So the materiality of life, we can't ignore, we can't pretend it doesn't exist, we can't deny. It is very, very real. We have been brought to the material realm to master spiritual principles. So in order to do that, we have to engage with the material life. We have to have the materiality in order for us to have a relationship with it. So I'm going to just reiterate, we've got health, time, friendships and relationships, peace of mind, and money and material possessions. That constitutes abundance. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about. We are still in the first pillar. I've got 3 pillars: relationship to self, relationship to the universe or to source energy, and relationship to others. When we talk about relationship to self, we have a physical body, we have an emotional body, we have an intellectual being of us, right? And we have a spirit. Mainly I'm going to be concentrating on spirit and emotions. Go see a physical trainer, go see a nutritionist to deal with your body. Your intellect is being stimulated, 100 times a day through the internet, books, reading, etc. I'm here to talk to you about spirit and emotions. So what is also very important to note around relationship to self is I'm not just talking about our belief systems, not just our thoughts. I'm talking about our subtle being. Now we have a gross body that you can see in front of you right now. Here's my gross body. But we also have what we call a subtle body. And you've seen a diagram of this. I'm showing it to you now with all the different chakras. And chakras just mean energy or spin points. Chakra means wheel in Sanskrit. So chakra means that you've got these energy wheels inside of you. And there's like 11,000 of them. There are 7 main ones that most people know about, but there are actually 11,000 all over our body. When we have a relationship to self, we need to have a relationship to this subtle body as well as to the gross body, the gross thoughts, emotions, etc. How do we ascertain or how do we get into that subtle body? So I've got practices that help us move into and work with those subtle energies. You can't get there through your head. When you're working with spirit, you're working with energies at this point. So there are purification meditations that I've created in order to clear the various channels and chakras. And today we're going to do also a meditation. I'm going to give to you a meditation that I've created to help us get into the subtle body and into our unconscious state of being and our spirit. And now I want to talk to you about a very important piece of information. And this is about conflict. Now, how many of you like conflict? Just take a second and say yes or no inside your heart. Because most don't. Some do, but most avoid conflict. And the reason why we avoid conflict is because it sets in motion, it triggers us into what we call animal responses of fight, flight, or freeze. It triggers us into survival mechanisms. And when we're in that survival place, the adrenaline starts rushing. And when the adrenaline starts rushing, different parts of our anatomy shut down, our digestive system shuts down, our reproductive system shuts down. We get short of breath, we start to sweat. All these various physical things start to show up when we're in this fight, flight, freeze. Now, we were given this physical response from a part of our being, our actual physiology, and it's right here at the back of our brain, the oldest part of our brain called the amygdala. It's the reptilian brain. And when our amygdala gets triggered, all kinds of adrenaline floods our system. And based on early childhood and how we were raised in really early childhood, we will have already adopted strategies, default strategies, where the neural pathways have been set on how to survive. So the question is, do you know what your default pattern is? Are you a fighter? So when you get triggered, do you go and hightail it out? When you get triggered, do you freeze and you just hope that the situation will go away? Or do you flee and you say, hey, you know what? I can't deal with this. I gotta go. And you actually leave. Or if you can't physically leave, you leave in your mind. Your mind leaves, but your body stays. That's a form of fleeing. And we know people, you can be in conversation with somebody and you know that they've already left, but their body is sitting there. Okay? That's a defense mechanism. It's a strategy that we adopt when we don't feel safe. Now, we've all had trauma some point in our life. It can be minor, from peeing our pants as a child to being abused to being ostracized. Like, we've all had something that ignites our nervous system, that will trigger our nervous system for us thinking we need to survive. The key here, though, is you've survived. You've made it. Okay? The worst is over. There's a mantra that I have created. And this mantra I created because when I was growing up, nobody ever sat me down and said, you know, Angela, you're really stupid, or you're not fast enough. No, the communication in my family was all nonverbal. And communication can come in many, many ways. It can be verbal, it can be direct, it can be nonverbal, it can be silently created and communicated. My family came mainly from the silent type. And what some of the belief systems that I grew up with were that I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't strong enough. I just wasn't enough. And so this mantra that I want to leave you with to ruminate on, I hope that if there's nothing that you receive from this webinar except this mantra, that my job will at least have partially been done. It will have touched you. And here is the mantra. I am enough. I have enough. And I do enough. And until I am enough, nothing or no one will be enough. I am enough right now. You are enough right now. You have at your disposal everything that you need right now. And you do absolutely enough in the world. We don't get the messaging, however, from the outside world to that effect. And what happens is there's a place right in our solar plexus. We call it the God hole in recovery. And it feels very, very empty. And we were running around feeling like I'm not enough, I gotta do more, I gotta do more, I gotta help so-and-so, I've gotta read more, I've gotta say more. That this God hole, we get triggered, and this God hole here opens up, and it feels terrible. It's anxiety. There's shortness of breath, anxiety starts happening, and we want to fill it. So we do. We self-medicate. We fill it with chocolate cake, we fill it with a nice glass of wine, we fill it with cigarettes, we fill it with shopping, we fill it with sex, we fill it with work. But those are only band-aids in order for us to get to the source of what is going to fill that hole. And that is the connection to the divine. It must be that connection that fills us up, not an outward or an exterior substance, person, or behavior. 97% of the Western world, according to Marion Schaaf from Society is an Addict, this book, she says 97% of the Western world is addicted to a person, a behavior, or a substance. Nobody beats the rap. Alcohol was my drug of choice in order to de-stress, right? A lot of people I know come home from work, they crack open the bottle of wine. I don't have that luxury. I don't even think of it as a luxury anymore. I have to use sport. I have to use talking to people. I have to be in meditation to connect with the divine, to fill that hole in me that still occasionally says, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough. It's like, I am enough right now. So on that note, we're going to now move to a meditation that I've created in order for you to feel a connectedness to that sense of self. And we're going to move into the unconscious, into some of those belief systems, touch into places that you haven't seen in a very, very long time. So here we go. I want you first to notice your posture. I want you to bring your feet parallel to one another on the ground if you're sitting in a chair. I want you to bring your hands to rest on your lap, either your right palm on top of your left in your lap with your thumbs touching, or your palms down on your lap or palms up. I want you to close your eyes and gently relax. I want you just to focus for a moment on the tip of your nose and breathing in and exhaling out. And the most important part is that your spine is straight as we are meditating. The spine is what holds our nervous system in place. And when the spine is straight, all the nerves begin to relax. And the spinal fluid freely flows up and down our spine, right to the ends of the nerves, thus calming our mind without us doing anything. So just bringing your awareness now to my voice, and I want you to bring your consciousness to the tip of your nose and relax. I want you to notice your breath coming in gently and exhaling out gently. Just giving yourself permission to relax into your body. We've talked a lot in the first section, and now it's time to relax and just be, to come into contact with our beingness, not our doingness. The divine is not a thought. You experience the energy of the divine. So now, I want you to imagine that you're walking along a beautiful white sandy beach. It's long, and the sand is silky and soft and smooth. It's crushing between your toes, it's squishing, and with every step you take, you are becoming more and more relaxed. It's a pristine blue day. The breeze is cooling you off, the sun is warming you. The ocean is coming up to kiss your ankles and then recedes. And as you walk, each step you are becoming more and more relaxed. And up ahead, you notice that there's a crack in the earth. And you are inquisitive, so you go to investigate. And as you move to this crack in the earth opens up right before your very eyes. And what appears is a staircase made of light. And you peer over and you see that there's a staircase moving into the center of the earth. The staircase is golden. The light is emanating forward. And I want you now to step off of the beach and step onto the staircase. And taking each step slowly as you descend. And if you have any fear, I want you to bring a friend with you. Bring an angel. Bring a trusted person as you descend this staircase. And as you're coming to the bottom of the staircase, you notice that there is a large gate. And I want you now to walk through the gate. And as you walk through the gate, you notice in the distance that there is a group of people way, way, way in the distance. In fact, you don't even know if they're people, they're just these little black specks. But slowly, slowly, these specks are moving towards you, and you slowly, slowly come to see that yes, in fact, they are humans. And you notice that there is one human in front of all the rest. And slowly, slowly, as this group of people come toward you, you realize that the front person is actually a child. It is a little child leading. And slowly, slowly, as this grouping comes closer and closer towards you, you realize that this child is you as a little girl. It is you as a little boy. And slowly this child advances toward you. And I want you, the adult, now to kneel down and greet this little girl. Greet this little boy. And I want you to notice, are they excited to see you? Are they a bit cautious? Are they worried? And see if they will allow you to embrace them. Give them a hug, a cuddle. And I want you to talk to them. Talk to your child, letting them know that they're so deserving of your love right now. And they are so very worthy of your love right now. And the child may be cautious and they may not believe you. That's okay. I want you to ask the child now to take you to their safe place on the planet. This can be anywhere. This can be up a tree, it can be in a paddock, it can be by a lake, by the ocean. Go there now with the child. And when you arrive, I want you to put down a blanket, and I want you, the adult, to sit on this blanket and completely observe the little girl. Allowing the little boy to simply be. There is no instruction for them, and you, the adult, I want you simply to witness and speak to them in your heart of what you see. Tell them, oh my goodness, you are so sweet. You are so very sensitive. And oh my darling, you're so fiercely intelligent. I am so happy to see you. You are so generous and so loving. So you're speaking to the child from your heart, and I want you to notice what it is that she or he may be feeling as you speak to the child. They may reject what you're saying. They don't believe it. Maybe they're ecstatic and they're happy and joyful. Your job is to simply witness this child. Witness and feedback in a loving way what you are seeing, what you are hearing from them. I want you to ask the child to come and sit on your lap if she or he feels safe enough. And when they come to sit on your lap, I want you to run your fingers through their baby hair and run the back of your hands down their arms. Just gently caress the small of their back. Notice how they feel in your company. And I want you to ask them, is there anything that they need from you today? Is there anything they would like from you today? And they may not have anything that they like or need, and that's okay. And they may, and it will come in one-word answers. Love, or cuddles, or fun. And I want you to give the child a little cuddle, if they will let you. And I want you now to stand up with the child, gather the blanket, and I want you now to walk back to the gate. And when you arrive back at the gate, you arrive to see a beautiful garden that has just emerged. A garden filled with life. Little hummingbirds and ladybugs, little bunny rabbits and deer, koalas. The garden is teeming with life. And in this garden, there are also unseen higher beings. And I want you to imagine that you and the child are standing in a circle of all these higher power beings, these ascended masters, sages and saints and prophets. The Buddha may be present, Tara, Vajrayogini, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Metatron, perhaps Ganesha, Lakshmi. They are all in this circle surrounding you. Perhaps relatives of yours who have passed away, grandparents, aunts or uncles. And this circle of light beings are protecting you and the child, loving you and keeping you safe. Golden colored light, rainbow colored light is absolutely embracing you and the child, and you are soaking this in. And I want you to kneel down and look at the child in the eyes and let her or him know that they are absolutely loved by you. They are deserving of your love, worthy of your love right now, and that you love them just the way they are. And then you, as the adult, I want you to stand up and walk out of that circle of light beings, leaving the child in their care. And I want you to walk through the gate and begin to walk back up the staircase, turning around to wave to the child, sending love and letting her or him know you will return. And as you ascend the staircase, your foot then lands back up on the beach, and your second foot lands back up on the beach, and you are back in that pristine blue sky day where the sand is silky and soft and it squishes between your toes. And as you walk, you realize that you have felt connected to a part of yourself perhaps you previously didn't know existed. You're feeling a deep sense of calm as you walk along the beach, hearing the birds chirping, cawing, and you are deeply, deeply in a state of peace and harmony. Your beings, yes, your beings has been touched. And when I ring this bell, you're not going to be startled. You're just going to slowly, slowly come back to the room in which you're sitting. And I want you to wiggle your fingers and toes gently.
So now we're going to talk about relationship to others. This is the third pillar. So we've had relationship to self, relationship to source energy or the universe, and now we're at relationship to others. Now, wouldn't life be wonderful if we didn't have to interact with other human beings, right? I don't know about you, but all of my friction and internal angst has come while being with other human beings. I love to be alone. I love it because then there's nobody to bother me, nobody to interrupt me, nobody to rub up against me. However, we say that you can't get a beautiful piece of driftwood with silk, creating a beautiful piece of silk, creating a beautiful piece of driftwood with silk. You need sandpaper. And that's what other human beings are to us. It's a bit like sandpaper. They soften our edges. They make us become aware of all of our belief systems that we have been running, right? And we have to become a little bit more conscious. That's why people move from being single to being in relationship and they all of a sudden feel completely out of control again. They were completely in control and happy by themselves. Now they're in relationship and everything's become exponential. Then they have children and it's like a whole new level of sandpaper has arrived. So relationship to self, I mentioned this earlier that 97% of the Western world is dysfunctional in some shape or form. We get addicted to a substance, a human being, or a behavior. And I'm serious about being addicted to a human being. This is what we call codependence. So what I'm wanting to talk to you a little bit about today is how does codependence begin? How do we feel like we have to be in somebody else's pocket? How do we feel like we have to rescue, we have to help, that our very life depends upon being the helper? We need to learn about boundaries. And I have this image, and it is about having this beautiful white fence around us with this beautiful garden inside this fence. Here's an image of a garden. In that garden, we are allowed to plant whatever it is that we want. We're allowed to plant flowers, we're allowed to plant vegetables, we're allowed to let it be fallow, we're allowed to have rich soil, we're allowed to have sand. Our garden is ours. Our garden is our life. And when we have this fence around it, that is a boundary. We're allowed to open the gate and allow others to come in. We are allowed to have the gate closed and say to people, no, I don't want you visiting my garden today, thank you. That's a boundary. What most people know of are walls. They just erect a wall because they don't feel safe. They want to protect their garden, as opposed to having a boundary where you allow some people in on a certain day and others not. But what we do, not only do we put up walls, but we jump into other people's gardens without them asking us. Without an invitation, we jump in and we mess in their gardens and we look over and we say, hey, why did you plant flowers and where are the potatoes? And like we go in there and we mess. We ask questions. Examples are you go to a course and then you come home and you say to your spouse, you know, you should be doing this. This is the kind of stuff you need to be doing. Or you put books in front of your spouse and say, you know, you should read this book. It would really help. That's messing in their garden. Okay? We need to bring our energy back into our space, and our business ends right at the end of our nose. That's where our business ends. That's where the whole rest of the world's business begins. So we do it in the guise of being helpful. Oh, I want to just help them. Oh, this would be a great suggestion. So we jump over and we mess in their garden and then they get angry and we kind of go, well, why are they angry? I'm just trying to help. You're not being helpful. It's very, very actually selfish. It's self-serving because we've got a belief system that if we give, then we're going to be needed. And when we feel needed, then we feel loved. We need to learn how to love ourselves deeply without helping others. Now, I want to make a distinction between helping others, rescuing others, and being of service. Now, when we are of service, because that's what we want, and when we are in alignment with the divine, when we have perfect alignment, not perfection, But when we are in alignment with the divine, we get information as to who we are supposed to help on any given day, where we're supposed to be, what phone calls we need to make. You know that place of being. You know that you thought of somebody and then you come out of the shower and there's an email from them. Or, you've been thinking about somebody, or you know you need to call them and then you bump into them on the street. This is the divine bringing you in contact with people that you need to be in contact with in order to move your life forward. We need to be the master of our own life. We don't need to be meddling in somebody else's life, helping them, because we're really not helping them. We often rescue, we jump in, and we do for others what they actually could do for themselves, right? And we think, again, we're being helpful. Actually, we're disempowering them. And we need to let go and let God, let the divine in. Every human being on this planet has a connection to source energy, has a connection to the divine. And you know what? There's a God, and you're not it. And I remember the first time I heard that saying. Oh my God, it was such a relief, because I was going out and about in the world, doing things for other people, thinking I had to, right? And never being the central character in my own movie. And when I heard that there's a God and I'm not it, it's like, wow, you mean I don't have to take care of all these people? No. We need to serve and we need to receive. But we're not here to rescue and continually help people. Okay? So that's a very important distinction. Also, when we're in relationship to others, we have, especially if we've been brought up in any kind of dysfunction, if you've been brought up in an alcoholic home or a family where the anger ruled or silence ruled, you were always walking on eggshells, you never knew which was, whether dad or mom was feeling this way or that, we get brought up with the three C's, I call them. And they are that you can't control the external environment. You can't cure the external environment. And you know what? You didn't cause the external, what is happening. And what I mean by this is that when we get brought up in these fragile, dysfunctional families, we then pick partners or friends that have a lot of the same attributes and behaviors that we had in growing up in our family of origin, like our parents. We pick these same kind of patterns and we feel like we've caused them to drink, or we've caused them to get angry, or maybe we can cure them by just being super nice and doing more for them. Or we become overly controlling of them and their behavior and making sure everything's in order. That behavior drives us crazy. It also drives the other person away. 3 other things that we learn in a dysfunctional family as we're growing up: don't talk about it. Okay? Secrets are left in this house. This is our family. Don't talk about it. Don't feel anything. Right? This is where the fight, flight, freeze thing comes in. Don't feel. You're left in a frozen position. And the other is you don't trust. So don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. Now in recovery, where we're recovering our spirit, where we're recovering our finances, where we're recovering our health, our time, our peace of mind, we're recovering all of this, we have to learn to talk. We have to learn to trust. And the real kicker is we have to learn to feel. And the deeper you feel your emotions, the more prosperity will arrive. Now, in early childhood, we have 6 phases, developmental phases of childhood. And in each of these phases, certain things have to happen for a child to come out over here to be healthy. Okay, healthy in mind, healthy in body. Nobody can beat the rap. Everybody has to go through this sequence. People can be wounded in stage 1, stage 3, stage 5, or not at all, or in all of them. Now me, I was wounded in each of these phases. So I've had a lot of work with life, right? Each belief system. Now the first one is about attachment, 0 to 18 months. This is with mother. Okay, this is all to do with mother. attachment to mother is the first phase. The second is exploration, feeling okay enough, attached enough in the world, being attached enough to our mother that we can go out and explore the world. So that's 18 months to 3 years. Then we move through to the identity stage of being, which is 3 to 4 years. This is the stage of feeling I'm creating who I am, a feeling of being in my body, and this is 3 to 4 years old. When you did that inner child meditation, how old were you? Often the child will show up around the 3 to 4 year mark first, then they might move to 7. That's because at that stage your identity is still being created. Then we move into competency, 4 to 7 years, then concern, 7 to 13 years of age, and then intimacy, 13 to 19 years of age. I want to talk briefly, just very briefly, about attachment, because this is the point when relationship to others, this third pillar that we're speaking about, this is the cornerstone in the attachment phase of a child, 0 to 18 months. We're not conscious at 0 to 18 months. We don't remember back to what we were thinking at 0 to 18 months. However, it's at that point in time that all patterning around our safety, around our security, around our sexuality, our creativity, all the patterns are laid at that point in time. And if you've ever worked with addicts, I myself am a recovering addict, I know that I could not heal that place through talk therapy. We had to go into my unconscious and work with sounds, work with non-verbal communication, because a child at that age has no words, all right? So when we go back to that early childhood, we can ask our parents if they're still alive. What were you doing when I was that age? Maybe you already know you have a sibling who is 14 months older than you, so you know she was pregnant. So some of the major things that can happen in a woman's life to deeply affect a child at that time would be postpartum depression, moving, possibly moving countries, moving cities, challenges with the partner, with the husband, with the partner that they're with. They're arguing, one partner keeps leaving. That could be a war going on. My parents, when I was 0 to 18 months, the Vietnam War was going on. We kept moving countries. So I had a whole bunch of knocks against me. So there's many causes to our attachment to our mother not being solidified. And if it's not, we have to go back and do the work. That inner child meditation is one of those techniques. There are many, many ways. That inner child is one of them. I have been doing this work for over 30 years. And since I was 18 years old, I have not had a straight job. I have not had a paycheck. I have done working with my divine energies in concert with them. I've co-created my entire life. And so can you. And you have been. You might have slipped off the trail and now you need to jump back on. You might need an upgrade. You might need new practices. You might need new techniques and tools to help you move forward. It may be time for you. So all that I'm talking about, it's an inside job. We change the insides, the outsides get completely affected. I'm talking about abundance. I'm talking about more health, radiant health, emanating health coming out of you. I'm talking about peace of mind, the quietude of your mind. I'm talking about time so that you're able to do things when you want, how you want them. I'm talking about friendships, deepening your friendships and your relationships. And I'm talking about money and material possessions. All of this constitutes abundance. Abundance in my world. Well, we've been talking and talking. So I'm going to suggest you stand up. I'm going to invite you to stand up and let's just do a little bit of stretching. All right? You've been excellent. You've been so patient. You've been wonderful listening. And remember that there is a gift for you waiting as right at the end of the webinar. So just get up, maybe let's move to the right a little bit, and then we're just gonna move the other side. Good. Bend your knees, shake yourself out. Yeah, good. Good. Maybe jump up and down a little bit, get some blood going. Your family's gonna wonder what you're doing. It's okay. So, you know, I know you want more. I know you want more spirit. I know you want more money. I know you want more balance. That's why you've been watching the webinar. That's why you have put your butt in the seat, and you're here. Remember that we have to correct things at the source. If you've been not being able to manifest, if you've been struggling and you've been in resistance, right? Like, why is it that some people are able to manifest or able to earn things and you're not? Remember, it's those unconscious belief systems that we're broadcasting from. Remember, you know, like you may be giving away your power, and it's time to stop that. It's time now to be empowered. Possibly you've been reactive, you've been people-pleasing and approval-seeking. Those are all what we call compensatory ego mechanisms to receive love, right? I talked to you about safety and security. All our belief systems we've created in order to be safe and secure and to receive love. So not being in touch with your joy or that fun inside of yourself, drinking, eating, shopping too much, being a workaholic, right? Like those things, I don't know about you, but for me, those really caused me deep, deep pain and suffering. And I would end up in my house all by myself and go, what is wrong with me? I need some help. I've been brought to the planet to serve, to help others transform all of that pain and suffering. The global financial crisis happened in 2008, and I maintain that it was the universe's way of saying, that's enough. That's enough of the old way of dealing with finance and earning, and the planet must find a new way. Why are all these spiritual gurus now arriving? They're not arriving. We've been here for a while. However, we're ready on the planet to hear new information. We're moving into what we call the fifth dimension of reality. We actually operate in multiple dimensions, between 11 and 16 dimensions of reality. We're just not cognizant of it. So it's time now to start learning practices and tools for our abundance to arrive. It's waiting in escrow. There's Esther and Jerry Hicks, the teachings of Abraham, talk about this emotional scale that we move upwards. And this money and abundance is waiting for us in escrow. Escrow meaning in a bank account in the sky, until our vibration has reached a point where we're feeling deserving of it. And as soon as we feel deserving of it, it shows up. You ever notice that? And it comes in waves. There's something else I want to say, and that is money and energy arrives in waves. All right? Now, we've never questioned when there's a full moon that it's going to go dark. And after the dark moon, that the full moon will return. We never question that after the spring, summer will follow. Or after the winter, the deep, dark, cold winter, that the spring will arrive. There is always seasons and motion and rhythm to the universe. And you are part of that rhythm, and you are part of that universe. And so we have to be patient sometimes with those rhythms. And now I'd like to ask you a question. Would you give me permission? Would you allow me to talk to you about my Enlightenment and Money program that I'm moving forward into the world? Would that be all right? Thank you. Well, what I can tell you first are the features about it. it. So it's coming in a 15 module online program. So you'll be sent online videos for you to listen to in the comfort of your own home. I will be sending you downloads as well as the videos, so that each week that they show up, that you'll be able to take in the information and do it at your own pace. Then we're going to have monthly coaching calls or mentoring calls, and on those calls we're going to be doing meditation, we're going to be doing question and answers, and we're also going to be doing new topics, so that I'm going to be bringing in new information with each call. This is so that we can encourage a community to grow, and you know that you're not alone. We're also going to be doing a 2.5-day live event. So I travel all over the world, and all the various cities like Sydney and Melbourne, the Gold Coast, Perth, Vancouver, Toronto, New York, and the UK. So those are the cities that I will be coming to, that you can come to, and that event is completely free for you and one of your friends. You can bring a friend along to that free event. What are we going to do there? Well, oh my goodness. The tools that you're going to be getting on your downloads and the online course, we're going to actually be doing a lot of them together. And what that does is it creates this group experience where the energy moves forward in a much bigger, accelerated, and deep way. We're going to be doing that inner child meditation, the inner child odyssey. There are variations to that inner child, pulling back your empowerment from memories that have been very, very painful. On the third day, we'll be doing an analysis of your dreams, and you're going to be getting a little dream book that I have created. We're going to go through all the various symbols and images within your dreams, because each of the dream symbols is you. This is what people, they're not aware of. But if there's a bed in your dream, if there's a dog in your dream, that is you. And dreams are a way for the universe to talk to you on a daily basis. You can ask your dreams to show you things. I can teach you some of those techniques. I've been working with my dreams since I was about 5 years old. Very, very active dream life. So we're going to go through dream analysis. We're going to have an inventory. Now this inventory is very, very important for the levels of prosperity that you want to move towards. The inventory is about coming into finding out where we were hurt. Who do we resent? Where are we holding our anger and resentment against people? Because it's in those places of constriction of anger where we have not yet let them go that the abundance can't come in. So there's 4 columns on this chart that I have devised, and you get this template where who hurt me? What did they actually do? The 3rd column and the 4th column are the most important. 3rd column is about what got affected in me. Was it my self-esteem, my self-worth, my sexuality, my trust, my financial security? What got affected? And the 4th column, what did I do to defend myself against being hurt? Did I stonewall? Did I put up a brave face? Did I eat? Did I smoke? Did I drink over it because I couldn't talk? All right? And it's that last column that we can change our life. We can change how the world is coming at us by how we work inwardly. You will be more confident. You will have more peace of mind doing these exercises and these modules. You're going to feel incredibly empowered. The people who have come through my program previously, the stories that I receive. There was one woman in particular just recently. She came to my live event, and she worked with me, and she was having struggles with her mother, and she was taking those struggles and implanting them on her business partner. And that's what we do. If we don't work it out internally, we work it out in our work environment. So she was working it out, and she came to my retreat, and I named it, and I said, this is your mother. This is a pattern that you've got with your mother. Let us break it down and work with it. So she did. And she, it was a lot of internal angst And then at the end of the 2 days, she left and she was like, Ange, I'm ready. I'm ready for the world. I'm ready for things to shift and change. And lo and behold, within 2 months, she's an architect. Within 2 months, she manifested a $7 million contract. She had let go of all this debris and all this negativity. She'd changed her patterns. She had ended her business relationship with that business partner. She knew she had to let go of something old in order to get something new. And the day after that partner left and cleared her desk, whoosh, a $7 million contract came in. That story is not an anomaly. I have other stories. There's a woman who was a real estate agent. She was worried about doing my program. She didn't think she had the time. She didn't have the capacity to give the time to the 2-day event, the 2.5-day event. And I said, what's holding you back? She said, well, I have these 2 houses and they've been on the market for 6 months and I can't sell them. And I said, Marilyn, trust me. Come to the retreat. Truly, let's watch a miracle happen. She came and you know the answer to what happened that weekend. She was there. She had given the inventory to a colleague, let it be. And on those 2 days, both those houses sold. She'd been waiting 6 months. She'd been holding on so tight, she didn't allow the divine to come in. That's what we do. We're clawing onto reality. There's no space for the divine to come in. There is no space for that energy to come in and do for us what we've been trying to do for ourselves, but we don't need to. So lo and behold, boom! She sold 2 houses on that weekend. She was like, oh my God, Ange. And she has gone on to be a realtor of the month. This is in Perth. Month after month now, because of the tools and the gifts that I've shared with her. So you will be in a deeper alignment with your purpose in life. You will have more ease in your life, more money. And it happens like magic. All right? You let go, you do forgiveness work, energy inside of you, you've got the spaciousness, beautiful things begin. You will have radiant health. And your mind will be at peace. So that's the structure of what's coming. So now, what's the cost of all this, you're wondering, all right? What I can tell you, if you worked with me one-on-one, which people do, they hire me one-on-one, but I'm $500 a session, and the work that we will be doing or the 2.5 days, or in the 10 modules, will take approximately 18 to 30 sessions, depending if you're a swift learner or a slow learner. So that's anywhere between $9,000 and $15,000. And if you have that to invest, by all means, send me an email and we'll work it out. But I'm very, very judicious around who I take one-on-one. I've personally spent $32,000 on my inner work, seeing therapists, and much, much more on courses. We must invest in ourselves. If you're a small business owner, the only thing that sets you apart from other business owners is the investment into yourself and your inner game and how you're confident in the world, and that's how more clients show up. So if you want to sign up today, 1297. 1297, one payment. But I've got payment plans, I've got installment plans. So you can do $349 for 4 months, or $129 for 12 months. This allows you to get the goods before you've finished paying me. This allows you to get the online modules. It allows you to come to the retreat, be involved in the monthly coaching calls, be involved in the Facebook group, get the CDs. All of this for $129 today. All you need to do is go to the link right below this page, click on it, and you'll find people on the other end. If you've got questions, I've got a team of people there to answer them. So what else is going to happen at this 1297 level? I've got a ton of bonuses for you. The first one is an ebook. All right? So the first ebook, you get this entire webinar that I have just created all in a book form, talking about the 3 pillars and the 7 steps, the incredibly critical pillars. Why do we need this book? There's been so much content. I know that I can't even put it all in one webinar to give to you. So if you have it in front of you, you can peruse it and go over it again and again. If you want to sign up today, you can see that link right below this page. Go to it now. All right? Again, there's an installment payment plan for you. The second bonus, I've got 2 CDs that I have created. People have said my voice on these meditation CDs, just my voice alone will transcend them into a different state. You don't even need to be a meditator. You can just put them on. The first one has a number of meditations on how to breathe properly, compassion. There is the 11th step prayer, what we call the St. Francis prayer, that there's a guided meditation. And then I have this new CD, which is involving just the inner child. So I've got 3 tracks for the inner child and variations on how to work with parents and how to work with others who have hurt us. So those 2 CDs. Again, you can get them immediately. If you want to sign up for this program, please go to that website, that link that's right below your page right now. Third bonus, we've got, as I said, a Facebook closed group. It's a strategy group. So we've got a Facebook strategy group from all over the world. All of the people who have done my courses, they come into the strategy group at Facebook and we communicate with each other. We're building community. We're building trust. We're sharing these practices that I'm going to be giving you, the tools, some of the inventory and the exercises, the meditations, the inner child. This is stuff that's at the cutting edge. And you don't have friends necessarily who are doing this work. So in this Facebook group, this is where you can communicate with them. So if you would like to join us, please sign up. There's the email. Pardon me, it's not an email. There's the link for you to go to sign up right now. So that's bonus number 3. Bonus number 4. We've got a 6 DVD set of practices of an awakening being. Now each of these DVDs is 30 minutes long. And these are about the 6 virtues: generosity, ethics, patience, perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. This is Buddhist information from 2,500 years of practices. These 6 practices, if we practice them on a daily basis, generosity, ethics, patience, perseverance, concentration, and wisdom, they will elevate us and take us to new dimensions of our spirit. So you're going to get a 6 DVD set as a bonus. This enables you, again, to go deeper into yourself and to come to understand people and how they operate in the world also. Then we've got the 2.5-day free live event. And I've referred to this. So it's 2.5 days, city of your choice. We've got Perth, Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. Then we're in North America, Vancouver and Toronto, Los Angeles, and we're moving over to Britain. So whatever suits you. This is an experiential retreat. It will deepen the neural pathways. Remember that we've got this fight, flight, freeze, reactive being within us. And we need to change that. We need to interrupt that. We need to interrupt the neural pathways in order to move to flow, to move to our own abundance. And we need exercises and we need a group in order to trigger us safely so that when we're triggered, then we move with a technique that I use, EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and also Mind Gems to move you through the trigger into your next state, where it is about acceptance and receiving. It's our receptors that are broken in our early childhood. We're afraid to receive. We move to control because we're in fear. And we don't need to fear anymore. We are provided for abundantly if we will allow it in. We need to be open to receive. So some of these techniques definitely we're going to be working on in the live event. The group experience, will be having discussions, we'll be having dialogue in amongst members. If you don't feel safe in discussing, that's okay too. Some are silent, some are talkative. I am there to moderate as well as my team. They're all trained and they have done this retreat over and over again. You're going to be learning tips and tricks and tools. One of them, very, very easy, I think I mentioned this already, is about writing a check to yourself. Well, in this 2.5-day retreat, we enlarge this game so that I'm giving you money constantly for the 2.5 days. And you're given a whole whack of blank checks. And you must spend this money. The thing that's happened in the Western world is we've stopped dreaming. Our spirits and our souls are crumbling inside. And we need to learn to dream again. And when I give you these checks of money, all of a sudden, your horizons open up. And from there, you begin to dream bigger and wilder. And that's what my prayer is for you, is to become the largest being you possibly can be on the planet. With your gifts and skills and talents. That's why you've been brought here, to utilize those. So if you're interested in this program with these bonuses, go to this link that you're seeing now on the bottom of the page. There's still more bonuses. Number 6. There's these group coaching and mentoring calls, as I already spoke about briefly. Once a month, we're going to gather together. This is to keep you accountable. This is to keep you aligned so that you will be doing your practices or not, and we're going to be helping you along the way to keep showing up. We're going to be doing conference calling, and we're going to have question and answers. So you can save your questions up, and I'll be there to answer them. You're going to be in dialogue with others. As well, I'm going to be introducing new topics all the time. And we're going to be doing meditations so that you're going to have a constant flow of spirit. You may go off base and then you come back with these group coaching calls. So group coaching. All right? And why do we do this? Why is this important? Again, we need accountability. We need one another to show up, to grow. We can't grow in isolation. We must have community. We must feel the love and the acceptance in order for us to step out of our comfort zone. Okay. So here are the bonuses. There's the price. You can see the link below this page. 1297 for one payment, $349 for 4 payments, or $129 for 12 months. So I want to talk to you just briefly about bringing somebody with you. All right? You can bring a friend, invite a spouse or a business partner for 50% off of this price. So 50%, you can bring a second person and she or he gets all of the bonuses. This allows you to do this journey with somebody that you love and you care about. If you have a friend or a family member that's interested, tell them about this and tell them about the link below this page. Okay, the dates. We're still working with dates, but we're looking into 2016 so that the modules will be sent to you over the next month or 2, and then in the new year the dates will all be revealed. As I said again, we're doing Perth, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Vancouver, Toronto, New York, Los Angeles, and the UK. They'll be spread out. Pick the city of your choice. So if you're interested in this and you want to join us, there's the link below this page. Go to it. Go check it out. And again, your finances. So full upfront, $12.97. Then you can break it down, $349 for 4 months or 12 months at $129. If you want to sign up today, you can go to that link right now. We must invest in ourselves. As I said earlier, I have spent tens of thousands. I recently met a man, he's making multi-millions. He said he spent $100,000 on his personal development last year. He always has a portion of money just for his personal development. We are all continuing to grow until our enlightenment. So invest in yourself. You will never regret it. And lastly, I want to talk to you about a risk reversal, meaning that you have my personal guarantee for 1 year. If you're not satisfied, there are conditions. You must show up and do the work. But after 12 months, if you're completely dissatisfied and you feel you've not got your money's worth, I am 100% happy to refund. You must show up to the group coaching calls. You must do the work. So there's no risk for you today. Once again, go to the web link at the bottom of this page. Sign up. 1297 or these 2 payment plans. These are the options for you. Pick what's good for you. I am so thrilled and honored to have spent this time with you. Thank you. You will be receiving a gift in your email box as soon as this webinar is over. It might take a half an hour or so to get to you, but know that it's coming. I have been brought to the planet to be the person as a transformational vehicle. I have moved through challenges, the dark night of the soul. When we work together, you will learn a lot more of my story and how your story can also benefit others. God doesn't make junk. The divine never brings you to the top of the heap to just drop you off. You are a child of the divine. Come, find out what your gifts, skills, talents are so that you can bring them to the world and you can prosper. Thank you.